Hello everybody, my name is Pravus, and welcome to a little game called Kingdoms Reborn. Now this is a relatively new game, it just went into early access last November, and it hasn't gotten a lot of attention yet on Steam, but I think it deserves a bit more of a spotlight because this game does have some pretty good potential. It is a survival city builder, and it claims to take inspiration from games such as Banished, Anno, and Civilization, and funnily enough, I actually do see the influence of all three of those games in Kingdoms Reborn, so it's staying true to form there. We're going to go ahead and give it a go, and this may not be a very long series, relatively short, depends a lot on what you guys think, but I do want to at least give a look at this while it is still in early access and have a little bit of fun. 8th drop desert, well that sounds kind of fun. We're going to increase the difficulty slightly up to hard, but to be honest, difficulty is not absolutely crucial in this, and mostly just has to do with your citizen consumption rate. The AI is a little bit derpy in this game as it currently stands, so they're not going to pose much of a threat to you as you compete for resources. Mostly it's still just a single-player survival city builder game. So let's go ahead and jump into this with a new world, and we are going to see how well we fare. And this is where the game is going to give you a little bit of backstory. The Great Freeze left civilization in ruin. Very few were strong enough to withstand the cold and plague that claimed the earth. Decades have passed since the frost took our lands, and our courage and hope have returned with the melting of the ice. It falls to us, we surviving few, to rebuild a flourishing civilization. And this is where the game actually looks a little bit like Civ itself, where we do plant down our starting settlement or colony or city or whatever you want to call it, while there are also a few other competing cities you can find out over here, Uppsala, Ruin, etc. Now there's a few things that I'm going to be looking for a good settlement location. First off, I'd like to settle on the coast or someplace with water because it's a pretty good source of food. Also, relatively close to a river would be nice. I'm also looking for a plot with a lot of trees and pretty good fertility so I can plant down some farms, so down over here does not look very promising. And you can see that there are some other resources available, some of which are strategic and useful for the growth of your population, and some of which are luxuries. Actually, most of them are luxuries. So coal and iron are things I would consider to be more strategic for your growth, because you will need these to continue expanding and growing. But others, such as dyes or coffee or tulips or cannabis, yes, that's a thing, these are all other luxuries you will be able to give to your populace to make them happier and a little bit more productive over time. So let me scout for a minute and see if I can find a good location. Okay, now see, here is a tile that I kind of like, this little region. 89% fertility is pretty decent, a lot of room for me to work with, which is going to be very good for my early growth. Relatively okay temperatures. It does have some nearby dyes and grapes that we will be able to make use of, and it's not outrageously far away from some coal and some iron if we want to use that. The main downside of this particular territory is it doesn't have a lot of other luxury resources very close by, but if we want to, we might be able to work our way down towards some cannabis and some cocoa and cotton eventually. So I think this is a reasonable enough starting location. We're going to go ahead and select this. Boom. Now, that does cost me a lot of initial money. The smaller the tile, the weaker the tile, the less initial money you will be spending. It doesn't really show you how much money you have at the beginning. I think it's around 2,000. So spending a lot of that on a large tile kind of sucks, but it's okay. We'll be able to make use of this. I am going to go ahead and buy out a little bit of extra lumber because we do need that for some construction projects early on. But beyond that, I do want to save a little bit of cash so we can construct some extra buildings as time goes on. Okay, so let's go ahead and confirm. This is going to be my starting location. We've unlocked the bridge because we're near a river. That's nice. So the first thing we are going to gain is a town hall, and this kind of comes in the form of a card down over here. There will be a lot more card-based buildings later. For now, the town hall is where we are going to start. It's kind of the center of your town. You want to have it in a central-ish location where people can access the storage, but beyond that, it's not super-duper crucial. So we're going to go ahead and place you probably down over here, I think. Relatively close to some stone, kind of in the middle of the tile. I think this will do just fine. Okay. Now, we get to choose some starting cards, and there's a few that we have access to. Wheat seeds, unlocking a new type of crop if we want to do some farming, could be helpful. Investment, where we just gain some extra gold income. Right now, it's 25.5 per cycle or per day, whatever you want to call it. We could increase that by 30, which is not bad. And also a trading post if we want to have access to the world market, which could also be pretty helpful. This actually would save me researching a tech for a while, but I kind of value the gold, and we spent a lot getting this tile. So I think I'm going to go ahead and grab investment, and I'll show you how to use that in just a little bit. We do have access to a bunch more cards, and this is actually a pretty key mechanic to the game. So we have some general buildings we can construct, right? Houses, storage yards, bridges, roads, etc. But almost every other type of building is going to come in the form of a card, and every 150 seconds or so, you'll gain access to a new set of cards. You spend some money to get these, and the rest will go back into the discard pile until the next cycle when you can draw, which is kind of an interesting way to slightly randomize what buildings you're going to get access to in the early game. Now, some of these are helpful and some of them are not. So the Fruit Gatherer, pretty darn helpful if I want to get some early food. Hunting Lodge, not a bad idea either. These both seem pretty good. Quarry, can't use this right now. We're not even next to a mountain. Tavern, I don't need. Mushroom Farm, I don't need. So I might be tempted to spend some money, 80 of my gold, in order to buy both a Hunting Lodge and a Fruit Gatherer. And for the sake of demonstration, let's go ahead and do exactly that. Now we have two cards down over here, which I would be able to place as a building if I'm willing to spend the resources, right? There's a limit to how many cards you can have, though, so you can't just stock up on everything. You have to be cycling through what buildings you think you're going to need. Pretty cool. Now, as far as this investment, this is a green card. It's kind of like a global modifier card. If you go to your town hall, there is a single wild card kind of slot right here. I'm going to go ahead and place this right over there, and that's going to increase my income to 55.5 per day, which is more than doubling what I'm making right now. So that's pretty helpful, I would say. All right, now, we have a lot of workers right now. They are all currently homeless. We have 18 population. We are going to need to give some homes. First things first, though, let's go ahead and start chopping down a few trees, including some fruit trees and stuff. I need some lumber, and chopping down these oranges, these fruit trees, is going to get me a little bit of extra food at the start of the game. Then we want to go ahead and start constructing some houses. Now, I'm trying to remember, there is a button somewhere to access like some overlay map modes, but I don't remember where they are at the moment, so we're going to ignore that. Let's go ahead and place down some housing over here. They have good appeal value, which I think increases the happiness of those who live there at the time. Let's go ahead and rotate you around. We'll probably place a couple more over here. I do need to have 5 at the start of the game for all of these pops, so we're just going to go ahead and place down 5 of them, I think. The little yellow section in front of the building, that is a road, which does get built automatically, so you don't have to worry too much about that. Now that we got our first card and we placed down some houses, we're going to get a second card here. Productivity books. Now, certain buildings that produce goods, like fruit gatherers, will have a production slot, a card slot, kind of like the green one. Production books are one of the many different blue cards you can place in them, and they tend to increase their efficiency in some way. Either a little bit more productivity or reduced input cost for, let's say, a refinement building, etc. So these are also the kinds of cards you can get from drawing from the deck, not just buildings. Sometimes you'll come across things like this. We also have access to cabbage seeds, which is a crop, and iron smelter, which I would like in the form of like saving me some technological research later, but I have no immediate use for this. I'd rather go ahead and get something like the cabbage seeds so we have access to a pretty decent crop at the beginning of the game. And also, we know that we are in a pretty fertile tile, so even though this has high fertility sensitivity, I'm not too worried because we should be able to get a lot of good stuff. I'm going to say we don't need the tutorial at this point. I think we're going to be okay. So let's go ahead and increase the speed up a little bit. Yep, the number keys are what's going to do that. Because I selected a bunch of trees to get chopped down, my little pops are going to go run around and chop down the trees to gather up into some stockpiles, which came with my town hall. And then they're going to go ahead and move a lot of it over to these homes. First, they have to clear the area out, of course. Oh, and now it is raining. How fun. Now, these cabbage seeds were a red card. Red cards are action types. All you have to do is just click on it, and you gain access to whatever it was. Sometimes, though, it's an action like sell off half of your lumber for money, and you may want to wait to use the action until you have a large woodpile or something. So that's why they don't immediately get used. It's to be used at your discretion, basically. That's the idea. Now, we do have a quest at the moment that is to grow my population up to 25. There is a birth cycle, I believe, also an immigration system in the game. People can join. So it'll take me a little bit of time, but of course we need to have enough housing capacity for that. If you don't have enough housing, or your happiness drops too much, or it's too cold, people can die, or they can just leave because there's not enough homes, or they're unhappy, etc. So you'd have to be watching for that. Now, we did just complete our first couple of houses, and as a result, we are gaining science points. The more population you have, the better your houses are, or building libraries, the more science you will gain per, again, day, cycle, whatever you want to call it. And here is the tech tree. Now, there are several different eras in the game, and in order to unlock each consecutive era, you have to have researched a few techs from the previous era. In the case of Arrow 1, we have access to things such as improved wood cutting for 20% extra yield. That's pretty helpful. Wood often does become a bottleneck. Foreign trade, so we have access to that trading post, and this is where if I had picked that up in the early game, I could have actually just negated the need to research this, at least for a while. I wouldn't have gotten the increase in the number of immigrants or the trading ports, but I would have been able to just ignore this and have a trading post for a bit. Mushroom log sterilization if we have wood consumption for a mushroom farm. Boreal and tundra if we want to claim some cold territories up to the north. Not going to worry about this right now. Spy guards. These are action cards. Kidnap guard and treasury guard. Not sure what these do. I haven't tried. Medicinal herbs. This is very helpful if you want to heal people. It's part of the farming tech. And also potato seeds. All of these are pretty nice, but I'm going to start by getting improved wood cutting because I really do think that wood is a major bottleneck. Now, it's going to take, as it currently stands, 66 minutes of normal speed playtime for this to get researched. That's a long time. We'll increase that, of course, by having more houses built, and you can see that just went up to 6.7, and larger populations to fill said houses, so given time, this will not be much of an issue. But, yeah, it can take a little while to research tech, so each tech is kind of important. You really want to make sure that you are you're picking wisely, because it's going to be a while before you get the next one. Hey, we have some more cards currently available. We could buy some more. I do think a fishing lodge is actually very useful to me right now. The forester would have been nice as well, but I'm not going to worry about it right now. Coal mine and charcoal burners, also useful. For now, though, food is probably the most important thing. So let's go ahead and grab a fishing lodge, and I would love to place one of these down over here somewhere. Unfortunately, my housing seems to have taken up all of that space. So instead, we are going to build this fish right over here, probably. Let's see, 104% efficiency. We can get a little bit more if we built it out over here. 122. You can always rotate the buildings, of course. Let's see what else we want to get. Looking for a good spot. Down over here is pretty decent. It looks like 124 there as well. Yeah, I kind of like just placing nearby, though, because people will have to walk to their jobs, and this will go a little bit faster. So let's just go ahead and build the fishing lodge right there. Now, we're going to be going through this wood stockpile pretty darn quick, but nonetheless, we'll continue working on that. Hey, farm access. Nice. We'll come back to that in a minute, though. Let's go ahead and chop down a few more of these trees, like so. We do want to place down some farms. Now, farms are sensitive to fertility, and you can see in these green tiles maximum fertility rating, which is pretty good. Yellow often isn't bad. The lighter its color, sometimes the better. Then you get down to like orange and eventually like dark red, and you find that there's no fertility whatsoever. So down over here, for example, terrible location. But along the rivers, the rivers seem pretty promising now, don't they? So maybe we want to go ahead and place down like a little farm right over here, you know? And it'll take about 27 of the lumber for me to place one down, but we can do that. It's a little far away, but don't worry, I'll grow into this area soon enough. We do want to place down a fruit harvester, and you can see there's a lot of blue highlighted trees from coconuts, oranges, and so on, as far as what we would be able to gather using this building, and it has a little radius around it to represent where we would be able to gather food. Over here, for example, seems to be probably the most efficient location, even though it's a little far away. I think I'm going to go ahead and bite the bullet and just place this thing right over here. So let's do it right there, I think. And alongside that, I'm going to go ahead and also place down a hunting lodge. We'll just have the two of them working together. This has a similar radius. It hunts down animals automatically that will pass through and gets you a little bit of extra food. While we're at it, let's go ahead and place down another road. This is the map mode I want to get access to. How do you get it again? I don't remember. Overlay menu. There it is. Okay, hang on. So let's see. Fertility. We can hide trees and bushes. Control T. That's what it was. I was wondering. Okay, hang on. So if I were to set this to Control T, there we go. So now if I select a farm, it'll be a little bit easier to see what my options are. If I wanted to place down another one right here, for example, we could just go ahead and do that. And I will. I mean, we've got plenty of laborers right now who need some jobs, and I like to make sure that my food is taken care of very rapidly if we can. We have a special ability. It is right down over here and is called Speed Boost. Now, this gradually builds up over time. It is a leader skill. I don't know if maybe in the future we're going to have access to different types of leaders with different abilities, but for at least for right now, this seems to be a default option. And you choose a building, and for 50 seconds, it works at 50% extra speed. So, for example, if we have people over here working in the fishing lodge, which we should, yeah, we can go ahead and click this, click here, And then for 50 seconds, it's going to be working a bit faster on the work done over here. So that's pretty nice if you're looking for a particular type of resource and you really don't feel like waiting any longer than you have to. Which is basically me just in a nutshell. I really don't feel like waiting. Hey, we have access to a new set of cards because this timer ran out. We can take a look over here. More fishing lodges. Pretty darn helpful, honestly. I'm tempted to get a second one. I think I might. Pig ranch is not bad. It doesn't really cost anything to have pigs, weirdly enough. I don't think you need, like, any feed for them. They just kind of appear out of thin air and breed and grow, and once you got enough of them, you just slaughter them. But it does take up a lot of space, so I don't know if I would necessarily want this right now. Immigration office is great for attracting new immigrants faster, so if you want to increase your population a bit faster, this is the way to go. For now, though, I'm not worried about that. Mostly, I don't want to hit a death spiral. I will get myself another fishing lodge, though, because I do think that having a couple of these makes a bit of sense. Now, it does look to me like the closer you get into the radius of another building, the less efficient it gets. So make sure you space these guys out at least a little bit. 122 is probably the best I'm going to get right now, so let's go ahead and place down another one right over there. And we'll go ahead and also place down some roads down over this way, kind of along the coast, out of my way. Okay, so that will do the job. Now let's take a quick look over here at some of the other cities. We can see them doing their thing. Now Hallstein, for example, has spread out. They have managed to build out some homes. They're also doing stuff right now as far as placing down additional work buildings and so on. What we can see is that they have actually grown far beyond their initial borders. They have taken on additional territory. We can do that too. If we click on a tile over here, you can see that we can either spend, in this case, 640 gold to claim the province, or 128 food. And now, right now, I don't have access to enough of either of those, so I can't right now. But eventually, this is how you are going to be able to grow some of your early game territory. Right over here is extra tempting. There's some sort of a little goodie hut right over here. Ooh, I do want that, but not right now. Not right now. Right now, we're just going to go ahead and ignore. Now, each individual building does have some sort of an upgrade. These guys are set to cabbage right now, so they're good. Each building does have upgrades you can purchase. The town hall, for example, can level up, which is going to unlock new types of cards that you can gain, some of which I think they'll just give you, but also will unlock additional global slots. So if you do find yourself with more green cards, maybe you want to upgrade the town hall. Other buildings like the houses, though, you can see that they have some upgrades for stone insulation so that they have more heat for wood and coal, so they don't need to consume as much of either resource for them to stay heated, because that is an important thing for them. Eventually, you'll be able to get some bricks and do something similar with hearth fireplaces. There's also luxury items: beer, the cannabis, furniture, pottery, tulips, and I think that's it for now. As we gain access to luxury resources, which is not going to be for a little bit, but once we start producing them, they'll be sent to these houses, and they will start leveling up, increasing how much income and science they can produce, and becoming just generally more valuable over time. So these are all things to pay attention to. It's not just things like houses either, though. So for example, in our fruit gatherer, we could spend some steel tools, of which we have 166, in order to increase the productivity by 20%. Well, that's not so bad. So let's go ahead and just spend some of those. Steel tools will require iron, so I don't want to waste all these right now, but yeah, it's going to be a little while before I can gain access to iron. Admittedly, that could become a problem, but hopefully we'll be fine. I just want to go ahead and spend that to get some faster food. And over at the hunting lodge, we could spend some of our stone for a smoking chamber for a little bit of extra productivity as well. I got 120 stone I'm not using. Let's just go ahead and do that. And I'm going to go ahead and upgrade some of the insulation of these houses so we can consume less of my wood. In the meantime, though, let's go to gathering stuff. We're going to gather up some of the local stone, and then we're also just going to go ahead and chop down a few more trees, especially in a few areas that I'm pretty sure I'm going to expand into eventually. All right? Is this making sense? I hope it's making sense. It makes sense to me. I actually think this is fairly compelling for a game. Let's see. Now, do we want to place another house over here? The appeal's not quite as good. We could place some more housing over here, for example. Let's see. I think I left some room for a road. So if I place right over here, 98% appeal. That's not bad. Let's go ahead and place another house, because I see that I'm at 21 out of 20 population, and pretty soon this person's going to be like, well, there's nowhere to live. I'm just going to leave. And I would rather not. I would rather they don't leave, but they might just do so. We are getting also capped out on storage. Now, I found out the hard way that running out of storage is very punishing in this game, because then people basically just stop gathering things that you need, like, you know, lumber and stuff. So that's kind of important. Apparently we can't make it this large. Fascinating. Well, let's just go ahead and place a little storage area right along over here, use up some of these resources, some lumber, etc., and just go ahead and start making this. We are completely out of wood. Unfortunately, wood really is a major bottleneck at the beginning of the game. We're just going to continue chopping as much as we can, but that's why it's important to have a large tile with lots of available trees to chop down. We're looking pretty decent in our food, and one thing that I really like about this game is it does offer some pretty helpful graphs to quickly understand what your production and consumption is. Right now, it looks really bad, but once we get to the next tick of a tenth of a year, we'll see that this green bar is going to go up quite a bit. It says we're producing 297 food, but consuming 307. So at a glance, I can quickly decide what we need to start prioritizing for the future. For example, maybe I want to go ahead and use another speed boost, and we'll use it on the fruit gatherer, so we can start gathering up some resources a little bit faster. Boom, you know, just kind of how it works. Anything else I want here right now? Yeah, actually, the forester would be kind of nice. We can cut and plant trees automatically within my territory. So we're going to go ahead and buy one of those, but that's all the money that I have access to right now. A-okay with me, though. I think it is absolutely worth it. It is going to take some more lumber and some stone. I'm going to hold off on that for a moment because getting things like the houses is a little bit more of a priority for me. Let's actually go ahead and place down some extension to the dirt road along there, just so that people can move around a little bit faster. Not that I think I have any issues with roads, but I like good infrastructure. What can I say? I like really good infrastructure. Okay, so now we have another house that got me to 23 out of 24 population. The larger the population, of course, the more science and the more gold we are going to gain. We did get access to another building here called the Statistics Bureau, which this one I think is basically just going to give you a lot more of these kind of graph informations. It's not super important. I'm not going to prioritize it right now. Eventually, we will gain access to another building that is going to allow us to be a bit more picky about what jobs people are going to do, prioritize different types of jobs automatically, but we're not going to worry about that right now. Let's go ahead and place down a little bit more storage over here since we are getting filled out. This right here, by the way, is your storage space, so it tells you how many more slots you have currently available. Try not to get resource capped there. It really can become a huge hindrance if you find yourself suddenly running out of space for your resources. Let's go ahead and place down a little house right over here so I can keep on top of the population growth. Once we get to 25, we will complete a mission, which sounds particularly exciting. I'm going to go ahead and make sure we spend some speed boosts because I often forget that I have these, and it's probably not wise to waste a valuable resource. So let's just gather up some extra fish. We do need to gather up some more trees because, once again, we are running a little bit on the low side. Let's continue chopping down over here. There we go. And we have some new cards. Anything else I care about? At the moment, probably not right now. I don't really have the wood to build much, and I don't really want to spend the money yet. I'm just going to go ahead and close this for now, and we don't have to pick this second. They're going to stay there for later. Eventually, this actually stacks up to 5 stacks of cards, and you can pick some, and then it moves on to the next one. So it's okay to wait at least a little bit before you go too crazy. Now we have 25 population, which means I get an extra card. We have productivity books, which can improve the raw productivity by 20%. Mining equipment, more productivity for mines. If I have a blacksmith, this will probably be very useful later, but for now is not helpful. And a frugality book, which decreases the upkeep of a building. The more the more buildings you build, the more upkeep you pay. For example, fishing lodge up here costs 8 in terms of upkeep, so we could place it there and save me 4 gold, which is not outstanding. 4 gold for the hunting lodge, 4 for the fruit gatherer. None of that's really exciting there. I think out of all of these, I'll probably end up going for the productivity book. It's just sort of okay at the moment. Let's see. We're gaining 90 fish per season as things currently stand. 84 up there. This is getting me a heck of a lot more resources, though. I think I'm going to go ahead and place the productivity book here just to try and boost up the fruit gatherer and just make sure I have plenty of food. Because don't forget, food lets you conquer more territory. So we're going to want some of that. Once again, I'm finding myself getting capped out on some storage space. That is a common issue for me. It is a very common issue, and it's also very, very frustrating. Let's go ahead and place down a forester. I think I'll place it right along here. That seems reasonable. Let's also place down a quick road. That's not actually where I wanted it. Good news is if you decide you don't like the location of this building, you can simply delete it by going to this demolish a building, and it's actually just going to refund the card. So I didn't actually lose anything too important, which is good. For some reason, I can't place there. Oh, because I actually have some roads. Haha, yes, I do need to get rid of that. Let's go ahead and clear those out. There we go. Forester going right over here. I'm just going to assume that it works similar to Banished and that having lots of trees being planted is good if you want to have your fruit gatherers and your hunting lodges. So I just kind of naturally put them together. Maybe I shouldn't, but that's what I do. This is really not what I want for a road. Gosh dang it. Okay, I messed this up again. Fine, we're just going to leave it as it is. We're just going to leave it as it is, and I'm not going to worry about it. We also are housing capped yet again. Okay. Well, they're actually building out another house, but let's just go ahead and build one more. Actually, you know what? I don't like that location. We're just going to go ahead and cancel that. And we're going to place a house over maybe here. And the reason I don't like that location a ton is because I'm hoping to get some buildings that will increase the efficiency of nearby houses eventually. So I'm going to save a little bit of space right there. Hey, this is a new feature. Okay, so kind of like the tech tree, there's also a special housing upgrade menu, which is like a secondary tech tree. And as you, instead of using science, as you gain houses and upgrade houses, you will gain some new technologies. So for example, housing level 1. If we can have 8 level 1 houses, we will gain access to the wood industry, which lets us build a furniture workshop, where we take our wood and create the luxury item, furniture. Luxuries, of course, getting distributed to these houses are going to level them up to level 2, and the more level 2 houses we have, the more technology we'll get over here. Then there's level 3 houses, 4 houses, etc., all the way up to level 7. And the more you have, of course, the more technology you're going to gain. So this encourages rather steady growth, if you can. We are doing just fine and dandy on food over here, by the way. If anything, we might be slightly over-consuming there, but that's okay. Let's place down some more storage out over here by the Forcer's Lodge, just so they have a quick location to drop off some resources. And we're going to need more storage probably pretty soon. Let's go ahead and place some more, like right over here. I know I don't have enough wood yet. I'm aware. Thank you very much. But it's important. We gotta have plenty of storage. Let's go ahead and just chop down as many of these trees as we can. We got 5 laborers automatically right now. These are basically people who don't have jobs. They get reassigned to builders as a priority automatically, and if there are jobs available, well, then they just leave the labor pool. But these are the guys who do your basic work. A caravan has arrived. They want to trade. Okay, they want to buy any goods I'm willing to get rid of. Well, the good news is I actually am sitting on way more food than I need at the moment, so I'm feeling very comfortable just selling off some sort of food. I also don't have any immediate use for resources like leather. We can't make clothes, I don't think. So let's go ahead and sell off some of this. We can sell up to 80 resources. I could sell, let's say, some oranges. I think we got plenty of those. Let's just sell some of that and get a little bit of an extra flux of cash. That's helpful. Notice a second group of cards is now available, so we can click on this and see all of these. And if we wanted to pass on it, we can move on to the next. Stack. And let's just go ahead and do that to show. Now we have fruit gatherer, charcoal, etc., pig ranch, more fishing lodges, blah 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 blah. All pretty darn helpful stuff. I think this is actually a good place for us to end this first video. Actually, our labor counts just went away, but that's because we have too many builders. It's a good place for us to end this first video. We're going to be consistently trying to expand and gather up some resources. Ironically enough, because we have everyone building and no one gathering resources, we're not gaining wood, but hopefully we'll be smart enough to get away from this. But this is a quick little idea of what you can look forward to in Kingdoms Reborn. And there's a lot more to do. We really do have to expand and gather resources. Eventually, there's kind of a military system, sort of, in this game, which you can use to be more aggressive against your opponents and compete for the world. So there's a lot more to show. I'm going to continue this in a small series. And if you guys would like to see this for a lot longer, well, then you just have to let me know in the comment section down below. Be sure you hit that like button to show your support. Subscribe if you have not already. And I will see you guys next time.